Alright, so, I guess I'll just start with the title. I got raided, basically, by my university security, pretty much. Now, I'm exaggerating a little bit. It's not like I specifically was targeted. This wasn't like the Bin Laden raid or something. But, well, I guess I'll just start from the beginning anyway. So I was in my room one day. This is just a few days ago. This is like Friday, last Friday. I wasn't even in my room, actually. I wasn't even in my room. I was in my kitchen. Not my kitchen. It's a shared space, unfortunately. And I heard this like clattering foot. I heard the door open. I heard this like clattering of footsteps in the corridor, and I was thinking, what's going on here? Because people come and go, but it's, there was the sound of at least three or four footsteps, right? So I'm thinking that's weird. And I was just cooking, so that's why I was in the kitchen. So I turned around, and the door to the kitchen came open, and this guy walked in. I recognized him because I see these workers around. These are like, they're not necessarily security people, but they're, workers for the university that handle, among other things, I'm sure, well, don't handle, as the case may be, the accommodation of the university students who live in the first year. Very commonly, people live in dorms like me. And so I see these people around, I recognise this guy, and they come around every now and then, usually just to check the showers, whatever that means. They're just like, oh, can we have a look at your shower? And I just say, well, yeah, sure, fine, why not? What are you going to do, say no to them? So I just thought I thought it was going to be that. I thought it wasn't going to be a big deal. They were just going to come and look at the showers or whatever. So this guy comes in the kitchen, and he's like, hey, what room number are you? And I had to tell him, I can't be, so I told him what room number I am. And he's like, oh, we're just doing inspections on the rooms. Which was the last thing I wanted to hear, and I'll explain why in just a second. But this shouldn't be too surprising. I mean, it's almost the end of the year. I have about 3 weeks of classes left, and then classes end, which I'll talk about in a second as well. But I assume in preparation for the second year, well, not my second year, but the next year, they're going to do room inspections, make sure everything's okay, because I have to get the rooms ready for the new students, and I'm going to have to move out, which is really annoying because I basically just moved in here. But whatever. So he's like, oh, where's your key to your room? And I said, oh, it's just in my room. Because the doors don't lock automatically behind you. You have to lock them with the key. It's a key card, but, you still have to lock the door itself. So if I just go out into the kitchen, obviously I'm not going to bring my key with me because, it's right there. It's like a 2-second walk from the kitchen, So this guy's like, oh, is it okay if we take a look at your room? And again, like, what am I going to do? Say no to this fucking guy? Like, you can't say no to them. Because it's like, then obviously you're trying to hide something, and I don't think you can even say no to them. They have a right to search, I think, or they have to give you some notice. So I could have said no in theory, but it just looks so suspicious, So I said, yeah, fine, whatever. And he's like, oh great, we'll come and tell you when we get to your room. So I was just standing there in the kitchen, like, basically like knowing it's over, because the thing about my room is, I think, well, there's a whole list of rules that you have to follow when it comes to the accommodation of the rooms, and I think I break pretty much all of them in some way or another. Most of them I break pretty innocently. I'll go down a whole list. So the most obvious thing I break is I own a mini fridge, and you wouldn't think this would be against the rules, but it actually is. And the reason is that it's a fire hazard or a fire risk. So people bring devices like a mini fridge, for example. There's a risk that it could start a fire because it's not registered with the university. It's not, they've not done a test on it to make sure it's safe. And I just think it's kind of ridiculous because it's like, that's not a service they offer. It's not like you can go to them and be like, hey, this is my mini fridge, can I get it registered? They just don't allow it at all. So, and I told my mum when I moved in here, I said, can I get a mini fridge? It's against the rules, but I still, I want one. And she went and, I bought one. And they, it's just a cheap one. But, the only reason I want one is because I don't want to have to share a space with people. It was really lucky that I did have a mini fridge actually for most of the year, because obviously I lived with Jesse and he's just a massive scumbag, and basically I had a massive scumbag roommate who would just steal stuff like washing up liquid and like food. I mean, he stole some pizza from me once. Like, I ordered some pizza one night, and next morning woke up, there's nothing nicer than waking up when you're a bit hungover to having like just a microwave slice of pizza. And I went to get it, especially the ones that they really like. I mean, I'm sure they're terrible for you, but the really like high cholesterol ones where the toppings just like peel off like a layer of slop. They are nice. I mean, they're not good for you, but they're really nice. And I was looking forward all night. A slight headache and stuff. Had been on the beers or whatever. Come out, go to put it in the microwave, open the cardboard box. He'd left the cardboard box in the fridge and it was empty. And I know for a fact that I left a slice or two in there, and he probably saw it and just nicked it. And I know it wasn't Chang, I know it was him. So it was lucky I had my mini fridge where it was. And some things like butter and stuff, like I keep my butter, I keep my milk in my mini fridge, and you wouldn't notice if someone took a bit of that, but it's still, it's out of order, right? So I feel I'm justified in owning this, but whatever, anyway, like, it is against the rules. I'm not, like, mad, because I know people are going to say, like, oh, you broke the rules, of course they're going to, like, I'm not mad that they came in and were like, oh, this is against the rules, you can't have this, but I'm just saying it is annoying. But, like, I do understand I was breaking the rules. Another thing that I don't think, it's not even against the rules really, was my door was blocked. So as you come in, it's like a really narrow, as you come into my room, it's like a corridor that leads, it's not really a corridor, but it's just like a foot or two of space that's like the doorway, and it's about as wide as the door, and it's so you can get in, and you can't really put your arms either side. It's a very narrow space. And what I did is I just put my shoes on the side there, because like, I put my shoes by the door obviously, so then I can put them on when I'm gonna leave. Like, that makes sense. And I also just had some clothes dryers, like not hung up on the wall, but they're like these hangers, so like you can unfurl them out and put clothes on them to dry, because obviously I'm not paying to use the dryer. It's like £2 extra. So I have these dryers like hung up on the wall at a slight angle, and it's not blocking the door at all. The door opens 90 degrees. It opens perfectly fine, right? So when they went to do my inspection, I was in the kitchen still, and I was still in the kitchen when they came back out. And this woman came up to me. This time it was a woman. She had a really whiny, annoying voice. It was the last person I wanted to be hearing from. And she was like, oh, you broke this rule and this rule and this rule. And she showed me this like certificate, and it had like an orange like frowny face on it. I guess I got a bad score. And I had this whole list of things I'd broken, and the mini fridge was there obviously. But one of the things I broke was the door was blocked, apparently, because I couldn't open it all the way. And they were like, oh, it's really important that we can open the door all the way, especially during inspections and all this shit. And the door is not blocked at all. And that was the thing that annoyed me. The mini fridge and other things I'll get to in a minute, like, fair enough, because I am breaking the rules, it's fine. Like, I'm not, it's annoying to get caught, but I can't, like, it's fair enough. I did break the rules. I knew exactly what I was doing. I just didn't care. And then I get caught. I'm not going to get, like, self-righteous about it, But the doorway thing really pissed me off. They spent more time talking about the doorway thing than the mini fridge. She came in and she was like, oh, you have a mini fridge? That's not allowed, so you need to get rid of that. And the door was blocked, and actually this is a big problem, because, and she started whittering on for like 30 seconds about this. Whatever. It's not even worth talking about, it really isn't. Other things I broke that they didn't pick up on were things like my alarm. My smoke alarm is covered, not with a plastic bag, but like I have this like plastic box. Back at Christmas I bought these Christmas lights for my tree that I got, and it came in this like little plastic box, and I sellotaped it upside down to the smoke alarm. And the reason I did it is not to hotbox my room so I can, like, I don't know, have a cigarette, or so I can get toasted on weed or whatever crap people do here. It's not that at all. I have candles and I like to burn them sometimes. It helps me focus. It's a nice smell, meditate on them and stuff, right? And the thing is, I was just a bit concerned that even though it is a small amount of smoke, I could just imagine like me lighting a candle and then the smoke setting off the smoke alarm and the whole building having to come out or something. Like, I could just, like, that's exactly the kind of thing that would happen to me, because I just have the worst luck. So I decided to cover the smoke alarm up, and I don't, burn the candles often or whatever, but, obviously that's against the rules. I think I did it with pretty innocent intentions, but, whatever. They didn't pick up on that. I also have animals in my room. I have ants, which I mean, they're contained. They're not just free roaming, they're in a farm or whatever, but that's not allowed. And the thing is, I keep... I don't even know. I might as well. I'm not even going to live here for that much longer. I keep them on my windowsill. And the curtains, like, my curtains are like 24/7 shut. Like, I never open them. But when they came in, the curtains were like slightly like opened, so they must have seen them. But I guess they just didn't say anything. So I don't know if they just didn't care. Or... The thing is, I was kind of relying on there being like so much wrong with my room that they just couldn't pick up on everything. And it seems that kind of worked. I don't know. But my room is, my room is kind of a mess. It's easy to miss some things. Another thing that is not very easy to miss is my flags. I have a lot of flags and some posters on the wall which are not allowed at all, which sounds kind of ridiculous. You'd be like, why not? Well, apparently it's to do with the paint peeling off the walls, and it takes the paint off the walls. What I did is I actually sellotape these flags. At first I used blue tack, but that didn't work at all. And so I sellotape them all to the wall. And the thing is, like, the walls themselves have this kind of paint on, where it's this kind of really kind of shiny, like, reflective material, I guess. Like, it's like, if you run your hand over it, it's very smooth and stuff, and it's very difficult for things to stick to the wall. Like, the sellotape usually peels off in about a week when I stick it to the wall, but the ceiling is a more, normal kind of texture, like a wall, like a drywall kind of texture. So I usually sellotape, like, my flags to the ceiling so they hang down and stuff, and it looks fine. I mean, I'll do a room tour. I will do a room tour, and I'll show you. But that's not allowed either. And when I left my old room, I had to take all my flags down, and I was tearing the sellotape off, and I must have taken, like, a lot of the like, paint off of the wall, to be honest. And that's another thing, like, I can't even get mad at, because I am, like, 100% in the wrong. Like, there was a rule and I just knew what I was doing and I broke it anyway. But the thing is, the way I see it, right, is, first of all, like, I don't care, because any sense of social responsibility I have or had has died long ago. So that's the first thing. But secondly, bear in mind, I lived in, like, with, like, neighbours from hell, basically, for a couple of months, and the university did nothing at all about it. Even when real laws were broken, disturbing the peace, banging on my window, basically destruction of property, destruction of university property, might I add. This front door got smashed down, like, huge chunks taken out of it by this metal pipe, right? He's trying to break the door down like it's Minecraft or something. Shouting going on 2 a.m, 3 a.m, like, massive, like, swearing and shouting in the corridors, people are trying to sleep. And all this kind of stuff, and the university doesn't do anything because they have a contract with him, or we can't break our contract. But if I have a mini fridge and some flags hung up, that's the worst thing in the world. And if my door's blocked, which I'm getting reprimanded for having my door blocked, and nothing happens to Jesse at all, apart from, like, a light slap on the wrist, if that. I don't even know if that happened. And it's just like, life is unfair, and it's almost not even worth saying. It's almost not even worth saying, because we all know it. Life is unfair, but, like, I just don't care. Like, they can, obviously I'm going to do the bare minimum to avoid getting, like, banned from the university or whatever. I will, like, follow the instructions they give because I have to, but I'm not going to care, and I'm going to use trickery. And I called my mum. I told her about this, and she said to me, just, like, put it in the kitchen, because they said with the mini fridge you don't have to throw it away. You can just put it in the kitchen. And what I'm going to do, I'll just put it in the kitchen and just bring it right back in, and that's what my mum told me to do. I mean, that's probably where I get it from. My mum is quite a conniving woman, or quite a, plotting, but anyway, whatever. And it's just like, I just don't give a shit anymore. If they had treated the Jesse situation fairly, and they'd kicked him out and I hadn't had to move out, I would feel much more guilty about this, because I'd be like, oh, they did, they were nice to me, they helped me out, and then I kind of betrayed them. But no, every single organization in my life, and every single opportunity someone's had to treat me right, I've been done wrong by. Without sounding dramatic, like, really, I just, it's every man for themselves. It really is. It really is. And I'm not saying go out and, like, abuse people and stuff, but just, you got to look out for number one in this world. And you have to remember, in this world, it's not your responsibility to help anyone at all. Just look out for yourself, help yourself. That's all. Just keep your head down and help yourself, because no one's going to be fucking helping you. Let me tell you. Holy shit. And to rub, salt in the wound, like I said, I was in the kitchen when this happened, and I finished, doing what I was doing, went back into my room, and like I said, I didn't have my key, but I'd left my door unlocked, so I tried to open my door. I had to walk past these guys. These guys were down the other end of the corridor, and there were about 4 or 5 of them, and they were all in this one person's room. Like, half of them were standing in the doorway, the other one was, like, searching. It was like something from, like, I don't know, it was like the Gestapo or something. And I tried to open my door, and the door was locked, it wouldn't open. And I know I didn't lock it, so I had to go to these people, and I said, hey, like, I'm locked out of my room, can you let me back in? And this same woman who had, like, reprimanded me, she was like, oh, fine, like, it's a big fucking deal. And it's like, okay. And she unlocked my door and let me back in, and she was like, this is why we tell you to keep your keys on you at all times. And, like, this smart-ass fucking comment. I would say, you smart-ass fucking bitch. But I didn't say that. I said, well, yeah, and I was pissed off, to be honest. I usually would not say so. You guys know me, I'm really not the kind of person that would say anything. But I said to her, well, it was unlocked before you came here. And she was like, oh, well, we have to lock it. It's policy. We have to lock the door and stuff. And I was just like, well, whatever, And just to add insult to injury, I guess you might say. And I came in my room and there was this little certificate, like I said, with the orange face on it, being like, oh, and it said, oh, we'll be back in a week to do another follow-up inspection, make sure you meet the standards by that time and stuff. But no, yeah, I got to deal with some of these things as well that they didn't even say. Like, they didn't say anything about the smoke alarm. I'm going to have to fix that, because, they're going to come here and they're going to be like, oh, what's this and stuff. They'll do another more thorough inspection probably. I'll need to really make sure I clean up. The thing is as well that when they knock on the door, they like the police knock on the door, they go bang, 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 bang. And like my sleep schedule right now is really like fucked up. Like I'm sleeping basically during the night, so I basically get woken up. It's like being in my old room again, basically, like bang, bang, bang on the window every night, And it's like, is that my fault for sleeping in the middle of the day? Like, yeah, probably, but it's just, I don't know, I get like woken up and I'm all fuzzy and confused and stuff, and then I have to deal with, the SS coming through my fucking door to inspect my room to make sure I'm not hiding enemies of the state or something, and it's just like, just let me sleep, just leave me alone, really, leave me alone. Like the amount of people, like the amount of drugs that get done, just for example, on university, in this university and every university, like the amount of like hardcore drugs. I remember I went out with Chang one night to this pub, and he was saying like there were people doing like like I don't even know drugs, so forgive me if I'm mistaking it, but doing like crack or something, or cocaine, or they were snorting something in the toilet, whatever you snort in the toilets of this pub, and like Chang joined in and stuff, and he was telling me this shit, and I believe him, I don't doubt it. And like people just openly like smoke weed and stuff, and I'm not like some boom, I'm not like, oh, don't smoke weed or whatever, because like I don't give a shit, do whatever you want, but I'm just saying, like, that's in my eyes is a more serious offence than me having some hangers in front of my door or something, and it's just like I'm targeted for some reason. And obviously the elephant in the room too, Jesse, and what he did and how he's still here at university. I walked past him the other day, actually. It was like 8 a.m. I think, and I just went to the shops to grab something. And on my way back, I walked past like the old apartment where I used to live, and I saw him standing outside leaning against the wall at like 8 a.m. and he had like a white hoodie on, shorts, these like sandal flip-flop things that he had his toes out, and he was wearing like sunglasses, and he was having a cigarette at like 8 in the morning. And it was just, I just walked past and I was just like, fucking hell, dude. It was like walking past a hobbit or something. He's tiny and he's like balding at 20. The last time I had a conversation with him, actually, I was walking home from the shops again, and as I was walking up the road back to my, where my apartment is or was, I walked past him, and I said hello to him and stuff. And this is after the incident had happened, the Battle of Changingrad, as I nicknamed it, where they banged on the door and stuff. This was just after that happened, so I had every right to be really, really pissed off with him. But I was like, figured, be friendly and stuff. I kind of figured I wanted to move out by that point. But I said hello to him, and he was like, he just looked at me and he was like, wow, you need a haircut. And yeah, fair enough, I probably do, but it's like, just don't come at me just because you're mad that you're balding at like 18. It's really just like, it's just like, fuck you, dude. Really, like, fuck you, you're an arsehole. And that was the thing that pushed me over the edge, I think. I don't know if I mentioned that story before or not, but that's what really made me decide, like, man, fuck this guy, I'm gonna get out of here. The university's not doing anything about it, I'm leaving, and I'm glad I did. Even though, like I said, I'm gonna have to move out soon. There's like 3 weeks left of class. It's hard to believe like an academic year, even though it's not a full year, obviously, but an academic year has already gone by almost, and I think I've been to probably like 20 hours worth of lectures in the whole year, with like genuine, I'm not even, that's the fucked up thing, I'm not even like joking. I haven't been to a proper lecture for months and months and months. And like, part of that's on me, but whatever, I mean, that's a topic for a whole other video, I'm not going to get into that here, but yeah, it's just, I don't know even know if I'm going to pass, I really don't. And whether or not I pass will determine what I do with the next year of my life. I mean, if I don't pass the year, I'm just going to have to retake it, because I can't drop out now. I've already invested so many resources in this that I've got to see it through, I think. And at the end of the day, like, if nothing else, years I spend at university are years I'm not wage maxing or, worse. So, I will stay here for as long as I possibly can, because I do not want to, I don't know, go back to retail or something. And I do know, like, you can stay at the apartments until like June, like halfway through June or something like that, like they let you stay, so I'm not going to have to move back straight away. And it's like, I've already paid for it, so I might as well stay here. But then I'm probably going to have to go back and live with my family, which, I don't know, at least it'll make good video content, I guess, I don't know. I still didn't get a chance to rant about my family as well. I'll do that next week, I guess. I don't know, when I was staying with them over Easter. You know, I noticed like the longer I wait to make a video about something, the less able I am to talk about it. So yeah, I'll make that video. I'll try and make that video soon. I don't know. I mean, this video itself is already like a day late, so there's that. There's that. And I want to work on my second channel and stuff, which is the only thing. I mean, I consider my second channel to be proper and stuff. I do work on it every day, believe it or not. I know, like, it doesn't seem like it, but I don't know. Like, with this channel, I don't really care. If I make a video and it's a bit shit, it's like, it's kind of whatever. But with that channel, I really want to make it good. But I have a video that I'm not going to put a day on it because there's always a mistake. You know, I always say, oh, it's going to be soon, and it's like a few months and stuff. But, you know, whatever, we'll see. I don't know. Yeah, anyway, I talked to my mum about getting a job, and my family is so fucking two-faced, by the way. Because I remember before I got a job, like, I don't know, 2 years ago, just over, my family was talking to me and they were like, oh, yeah, I just finished high school, and they were like, oh, you know, you can get a job, but there's no pressure at all, you know, it's fine, it's just testing the waters, you know, your first job. Because I was very, like, anxious about it, understandably so. And looking back, in hindsight, I was completely justified to be anxious about getting a job because it fucking sucks. But you know, they were like, oh, don't worry about it, you know, we'll be here to support you and stuff. Whenever someone says that to you, it's a lie, first of all. Oh, we'll be here, we'll support you, we've got you, we'll stand by you. It's never true. It's never true. And I get a job, and the moment I get a job, it's like their demeanor just completely changes. And then it's like, if I ever complain about the job at all, I get told like I'm entitled, I'm selfish. One time I got told I had my head stuck up my ass. Literally, like, they actually said that to me because I was like, I wasn't even saying like, oh, I don't want a job anymore, or, you know, oh, I shouldn't have to get a job. I wasn't even saying, I was just complaining about a hard day. And all my family ever fucking do is bitch and moan about how hard their jobs are. You know, my mum had like a stroke recently because of how stressed she was from work. And it's like they're basically working themselves to death. Like karoshi, that thing in Japan where they all like work so hard, not suicide, but where they all work so hard that they like they like die of stress. And then my family has the nerve to I mean, it's the same thing. I think it's like the kind of idea of, oh, you know, what if we do it, or if we did it, if we put the work in, then you have to as well. If we sacrificed our whole lives slaving away at some wage cuck job, you have to as well. You know, I think it's that logic. And I want no part of it. I really don't. And I saw right through it as soon as I got a job. I realized, and I was like, you know, I don't want to get. You know, I was thinking about like leaving at a certain point because I was like, oh, you know, I don't want to work here anymore. And they were like, oh no, you have to keep making money. You have to keep working. You have to keep slaving away for some reason. And it's like I was financially fine. You know, it's not like I need the money, but you know, and then I left and I was complaining to my mum about it, and she was like, oh, you know, I see that retail isn't suited for you, you won't have to work this job again. And other people were like gaslighting me. Like, I know that's like a overused word, but that's the only word for it. They were saying to me like, oh, I said to them like, oh, I didn't really enjoy it. And they're like, oh, you said you really enjoyed working retail. And I was like, no, I fucking didn't. I never said that once. Those words never left my mouth, even once. But they're like, oh, I thought you really enjoyed it. And it's like, no. Like, what fucking planet are you living on? You know, but my mum was like, oh, you know, you don't have to work a job like that again, it's fine, you know. And then I was talking to my mum about coming back home for summer, and she was like, and you can get a job and stuff. And we went back to where I used to work, actually, and that was a blast from the past, you know, going back into my old retail job. And the only guy who was still there was this like old guy. He's like some 60-year-old guy, and he still works there, and everyone else was new, everyone else was different because the turnover rate is like massive. The only people that stay there are like these old people. You know, like you see like those like 70-year-old like checkout workers at like Walmart or something, and you just think like I would just kill myself before I'd like genuinely, is like, what is the fucking point of living that kind of life? But yeah, and I was in this shop and my mum was like, oh, I think you'd do really well here now, I think you'd really flourish if you got a job here. And it's like, what the fuck happened to less than a year ago you telling me I didn't have to do it, you know? And I was just like, yeah, because it's like, I know I'm going to come back home, and my mum and my family are probably going to make me get a job somewhere. And it's like, I mean, of course I could use the money, but I don't need the money. I have money saved up because I don't spend money on anything, really. You know, I don't, like, I survive and I just pay for food and stuff. That's basically all I need. The odd video game here and there. You know, I don't need money for much. I'm not like a, you know, I'm pretty frugal. I can be pretty frugal. I can survive off very little money, and I don't eat much anyway because I'm trying to, like, I have like probably less than 1,000 calories a day at this point. And obviously that's not like tenable long term, but I don't know, we'll see. But either way, my point is like I don't need a job financially. It's always about responsibility with my family. You know, like a lot of people in my family have a lot of money, but they're very mean with their money. You know, they're very tight-fisted, which is fine. Like, you know, don't be wasteful with your money. But they're just, I don't know. All I'm gonna say is that when I'm older, if I make you know, a decent amount of money and my family need financial help with anything, they're not getting it from me because I didn't get any from them. You know, and there are a handful of people. It's not like everyone in my family like hates me. You know, I'm sure none of them hate me, but you know, some people are more generous with me. Like my mum is actually pretty generous. She's pretty helpful. But then there's other richer relatives I have who are close relatives. It's not like I'm being entitled to like my aunt's money or something. They're closer relatives. I don't want to get into it, but they have every reason to be, you know, financially helpful to me. But they're so like tight. They're so, you know, they're so cheap. There's no other way to describe it. You know, I'm just surprised, you know, the SS isn't knocking on their door. But anyway, you know, I'm not, you know, helping out these people, and these people are going straight to a home when I'm older. You know, that's what, I don't know, if they might outlive me at this rate, who knows. But yeah, I mean, that's probably going to be the summer, and then I mean, I talked about this trip to America with my university, and if I don't pass the first year, I'm not going to be able to go to that, so we'll see. There are 2 more tests. I'll talk about this, but I want to make a whole video about like academia stuff. These tests are next week, I believe, actually, though, so there's that. But there are 2 more tests, and one of them is an end of unit test, and then there's this like big one that's an end of year test, and they're both online, which is really lucky, and they're multiple choice as well. So I have certain you know, means available to me to guarantee that I do pretty well on those tests if you read between the lines. And the thing is, the thing about AI is every single person at university uses AI to cheat. And I went the first like half of the year, and probably even more, like up until a month or 2 ago, I went that whole time without using AI or cheating at all. And as a result, I like didn't do as well on the tests as other people, I'm sure. And the thing is, teachers have no way of knowing. The school has no way of knowing who's cheating and who's not, apart from just guessing, which they can't ban someone from, you know, they can't kick someone out on a hunch. And it's just like, if everyone else is doing it, you have to do it just to keep up, otherwise you're going to be seen as lagging behind. You know, if you put in the work, and you have to cheat anyway, because the way the whole, I said I wasn't even going to get into this, but you know, the university doesn't help you at all. You're kind of almost like forced into cheating, because it's like, I think once you get to like university level, and these people are adults, and generally speaking they want to be here, even though most of them should not be here at all, but that's a whole other point. Once you get to that level and people are on a wide scale, people are cheating, it's not a problem, it's not a moral failing on their part, it's the university's fault for not helping these kids. And like I went to them once, and I was like, I even talked about this, I went to my tutor and I was asking for help, saying like, I don't know what to do, and he's like, well, you're an adult, figure it out, you know. And I did figure it out, you know, I did figure it out, you know, wink wink. And you know, you do what you need to do to stay afloat. And like I said, I don't feel bad about it one, like the breaking the rules of the accommodation thing, I don't feel bad about it one bit. I do not feel the slightest bit guilty at all. And I was the kind of kid that would be, you know, feel really bad if I cheated on a test. I got accused of not cheating, but every now and then I got accused of cheating off of someone in a class once, and I wasn't. I was actually helping them. They were actually copying off me. But then the teacher came to, and this kid was like, no, I'm not even trying to be mean to him, but he wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, and I'm not saying I am either, but I'm just saying like, he shouldn't have been in that set. That's you know, whatever. And this teacher came to me and was like, oh, Corey, your answers, and this, you know, Bob, whoever, you know, Bob's answers are very similar. I think you cheated. And then this other teacher came in who I actually quite liked, and this was a female teacher we had, and she had a little moustache and a little goatee on her face. Everyone made fun of her for it, and then one day she came back over the summer and she'd shaved it all off, and there's no coming back. You know, you can't do that. Everyone's going to remember, everyone's going to make fun of you more. You might as well just keep it, to be honest. But she was the one who was accusing me of cheating, and this teacher came in who I actually really liked, and he came in, and just as he came in, she was like scolding me, and then she said, Mr. you know, whoever, Corey here has been cheating on a test. And he just looked at me, and like, he wasn't even mad, he was just disappointed, and he just shook his head. And that was the day I realized, like, man, fuck life. I'm like, what the fuck is, like, what did I do to deserve this shit? What did I do? It's like, life is so fucking unfair, dude. Whatever. I'll just end the video there, fuck it.